Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin, bringing you a quick update on a couple altcoins here, guys. I'm gonna be with some family over the next few days, and this is probably the last video I have a chance to do, guys. Wasn't even gonna do it, but I had a few questions and wanted to make sure I got this out to you guys before I did take a little hiatus here. Looking at starting off with EOS to the US dollar one-day chart on we're looking at Bitfinex, and EOS, guys, does look to me like it is kind of starting to it is flagging out a little bit here, guys. Is starting to paint what looks like a bit of a wedge. It's sitting right below the 21-day EMA here, guys, and does look like it wants to break out probably in the next 24 to 48 hours or so. Now, we are trading, as I said, below the 21-day EMA. We've taken a shot at it quite a few times here, guys. Have been unable to break above it, so a little bit of a little sign of weakness from EOS. That being said, if Bitcoin does break up, EOS likely will at well. If I can speak proper English here. That's what happens when you try to get in a hurry. If we kind of zoom in here, guys, you can see we are painting a little bit of a bearish pattern here. Some may call this a head and shoulders. It certainly possibly could be. Come over here. It's a bit of a sloppy one. However, I've seen that played out more times than once. And if this is going to be a head and shoulders, and that's a big if, guys, I'm not saying that it is, but if this thing is going to be, does play out, guys, the target on the breakdown below this 590 would be somewhere down here around $394, somewhere in that area. If this does end up playing out, not saying that it is. If we come over here and we look at the RSI fairly neutral. We're also looking at the MACD, also getting some fairly neutral indications here. Looking at let's see, a little bit of hidden bullish divergence, but it's played out already. Yeah, it played out a little bit here, so really not showing a whole lot here, guys. So what I'd like to see here on the breakout, watch out for the bull trap. If we do end up breaking out here, the area I'm going to be watching very closely is going to be $6.75. If we get a daily candle open and close, actually, scratch that. Let me zoom in here to the 4-hour. Yeah, if we get a 4-hour candle open and close above 670, then I'm going to believe we're going to come back up here and take a shot at $7, between $7 and likely $7.25. I do believe if we get a 4-hour candle open and close at 670, we're going to come up and take a shot at 675, where we're going to have to reevaluate. But watch out for that possible bull trap right there if it does break up at about 675, guys. This would be a very likely scenario for something like that. If we do end up breaking down, conversely, watch out for the bear trap, guys, and we would need to clear, we'd need to clear below this zone, probably 595. If we get a 4-hour candle opening and closing below 595, again, I think it would be a very quick drop. I think I told this to you on the last on my last video when we covered EOS. I think it'll be a very quick drop down to about 530. I've got buy orders sitting in at about 531, waiting for that drop. All right, let's wrap EOS there. Quickly looking at Binance Coin, BNB. BNB, as you guys know, guys, just a very big fan of BNB, guys. I do believe it is one of the better long-term holds and certainly one of the strongest coins in 2019 without question. Last time we spoke, guys, BNB was operating within this descending, broadening wedge, as we discussed. Told you that was a bullish pattern. In fact, last time we spoke, we had broken down below the 21-day EMA, and the very next day had broken right back above it. I believe BNB was trading right around 31.30 when we spoke, and I told you what we needed to see was a break out of this wedge and an open and close on the daily above the 21-day EMA. We did have that on June the 11th, so that was your signal. I told you if that did happen, that was your signal to go long. I've told you the next area that we'd be watching, it would be right here at about 33.50. Let me zoom into the 4-hour. If we zoom in here, about 33.50, that was the next target. We see that BNB did come up here, hit that target, moved sideways almost right to the tick at about between 33.50, 33.60, accumulated there for about 8 to 12 hours, and then decided to take another run up here, and it looks like it's wanting to test the all-time high. The all-time high, I'm looking at Binance, for Binance Coin, very appropriate, I know. The all-time high looks like it's about 35.70, and it looks like it wants to take a run at that, guys. Now, I'm going to come back out here to the daily. We are looking like we may want to double top, and if this market does want to turn around, BNB is likely going to turn around with it. If we come in here and look at the RSI and the MACD both want to paint a little bit of bearish divergence, and the second we did break out above and created that new all-time high, we would be likely painting bearish divergence a little bit on the RSI, but severely on the daily MACD. Daily MACD, even though we are getting a cross up of the signal line and the MACD line, guys, it would immediately be painting some bearish divergence on the MACD there, and that would suggest possibly double top, possibly wicking up very briefly, creating an all-time high, and then immediately coming right back down. So what I'm going to be looking for to invalidate that bearish divergence, should it happen, is I need to see an open and close on the daily above this prior open and close, which is at about 35.92. In fact, if I pull my fib extension, you can see why we're kind of finding a little bit of resistance here. If we go from the last swing low to that swing high, we can see that we're hitting right to the tick at that 382 fib. I mean, just right on it. I mean, exactly on it, guys. So the next area that we're going to be watching is about 37.33 would be the next target if you're looking for a quick scalp. And above that, we're going to be watching very closely about 39.50 to 40 cents. That's going to be key. That's where if you do decide to go long, and that's where I'd be looking to take profit, right around 39.40 cents. And I would not get greedy on this, guys. Now, does this have the potential to break up severely and go on a just completely break out here? Absolutely. There's no question about it. Binance Coin is one of the strongest looking coins in the market right now. But make no mistake about it, guys, if Bitcoin does break down, Binance Coin is going to break down right along with it. So be very, very careful here. A daily candle opening and closing, creating new highs above about 36 would be your signal, in my opinion, to go long, targeting about 30, as I said, 37-ish. And above that, 39 to 40 to $40. Those would be the next two targets if we do end up breaking up. To the downside, if this is in fact that double top and that bearish divergence does end up playing out, guys, we're going to be looking for a drop to approximately, and I could even see us retesting here very easily at about 32 cents. Below 32 cents does break down, guys, we're going to very quickly drop to about 29.70. And if we do end up dropping below here, guys, I wouldn't even be a buyer at 29.70. I do think the market would likely be correcting severely at that point. And where am I going to be a buyer at BNB? If we do get a massive correction, I'd be a buyer at BNB somewhere around 25.25. 25.25 down to and including ladder down to 24. So between 24 and 25.25, I would ladder in buys on BNB if we do end up breaking down. All right, let's close BNB there. Let's come check back to Mr. Satoshi here, back to BTC. Back to BTC, we talked about this yesterday. Was looking at least to Bitcoin like one of the weaker coins here in the last few weeks. Unable to break above the 21-day EMA since April the 29th. So again, looking a little bit weak. We are getting stuck between resistance at about 44.30 Satoshi and this ascending support line here. So I'm going to be watching this pattern right here, which you could call maybe starting to form an ascending triangle, which would technically be a bullish sign, guys. But as I said, we are seeing a lot of weakness here in the market. And if this thing does end up breaking down to the downside, guys, it could be a very quick drop down to about 35.25 Satoshi. And I'd be a buyer at about 35.25 Satoshi if this thing does end up breaking down. To the upside, as I said, we do have to clear 44.30 Satoshi. If we do end up getting a daily candle, both opening and closing above 44.30 Satoshi, I would be looking for a rise to somewhere around 48 to 48.50. Somewhere thereabouts, and we'd have to reevaluate and see how price reacts at that point. But an open and close above that 44.36, which obviously would bring us above the 21 DMA, an open and close above both of those on the daily chart would be a fairly significant sign. But it does look like it wants to come back and retest this ascending support line here, and we'll have to wait and see how it reacts to that. Again, if we do end up breaking down sharply off that, could be a fairly significant fall. Just looking at the daily RSI and the MACD, it just showing a lot of weakness here. So unless this thing does end up breaking out, guys, and it does look like it wants to. If we come over here and we look at our moving averages, and exponential moving averages. This is on the daily chart, guys. We can see, and this is very rare to see on a daily chart. You see it on the 4-hour all the time, but to see the Bollinger Bands this tight on the daily chart, I don't know that I've seen Bollinger Bands this tight before on a daily chart with anything. So this is extremely, this is suggesting a much larger move to come. We can see the 21-day exponential is almost coinciding with the 8-day exponential, and we've got some severe Bollinger Bands here. Now, if the 55 was down here, I'd say the breakout was imminent. We still have the 55 up here pretty high, so I don't want to call anything out yet, but it does look like price does want to move. It does look like in the next few days we are going to get a fairly substantial move to the up or to the downside in the prior targets I just discussed. To the upside, looking at about between 48.50 Satoshi. To the downside, looking at a target of about 35.40 Satoshi-ish. All right, quickly checking Ethereum. Last time we spoke about Ethereum, it was sitting right here, getting ready to break up above the 21-day EMA. I told you to find that we had resistance at about 250. Found resistance there right at 250 to the tick for the last 2 days. On that third day, which was technically yesterday, we just switched over to a new candle today. We finally broke out above that 250. I did tell you that if we broke above 250, we had this area marked out right here between 265 and 271. It came up and just hit that target perfectly. So if you did take that trade, congratulations. I would not have, because you really didn't have that nice break above, even on the 4-hour. If I switch over here to the 4-hour, you didn't really have that nice break above that gave you an opportunity to enter in. And remember, I'm a more conservative trader, guys. Now, you could have front-runned it on this breakout here, and if you did, congratulations. I did not. Like to tell you I did, but I did not. Again, I'm a more conservative trader. Would I buy here? No, I would not. It does look to me, let me go back to the daily here. It does look to me like we do have strong resistance here. Certainly a possibility of a double top. And looking at the RSI, we've got a little bit, actually a little bit of bullish divergence, which is kind of playing a hidden bullish divergence on the MACD, which is playing out now. But this does look like a fairly strong resistance, guys. It's going to take a lot of volume and a lot of pressure to push us back up. So if we do, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a break up above 271, a decisive break up above 271, a daily, at least a 4-hour candle opening and closing above 271, and even right above that, we've got massive resistance, as we've been talking about, guys, for quite a few times. If I zoom out here on the weekly, you can see it. We've got massive resistance between 280 and 300, guys. Major supply zone there, ton of sell orders sitting there. How do we know it? We know it because we broke down here, creating a supply zone, wick, completely crashed, came back up here on the 13th, wicked up in it, immediate rejection, wicked up in here on the 27th, immediate rejection with follow through back down to our 230 support. Now, again, a good sign that we are breaking up here, and we'll have to wait and see if this is sustainable. But there's really not going to be a good risk to reward until we do get a daily candle opening and closing, in my opinion, until we do get a daily candle opening and closing above 280. If we get a daily candle opening and closing above 280, anywhere in this zone, and certainly above 300, but anywhere in this zone above 280, I'm going to start to get very bullish on Ethereum. And as we've discussed many times, between 300 and at least 400, really about 420, there's a lot of room to run there, guys. So Ethereum does have the potential to get very bullish, but we do have a very strong lid sitting on it between 280 and 300, and it's going to have to break that lid before we've got a lot more potential to the upside, before that risk to reward really starts to play out. Now, looking down below, I want to see if we do end up breaking down here, coming back into the 4-hour, I want to see 250 start to act as support. So if we do end up breaking down here, come back down for a retest, that's going to be your real signal. If 250 does start acting as support, that might be a good swing trade, bouncing off 250, coming up and targeting about 265, 270. But be very careful, have a very tight stop loss. If 250 does break down, it's going to be a very quick drop back down to at least 230, and we'll have to wait and see how price reacts off 230. Would I get a nice little swing off 230, or excuse me, not a swing, quick scalp trade off of 230, possibly targeting about 240, 245? Absolutely. Am I going to go in heavy? No, I'd have a very tight stop loss, probably sitting down at about 215, because if that does break down, guys, we're coming down to 185 very quick. All right, checking out Litecoin. Litecoin, one of the more bullish coins of 2019, without question, guys. Right up there with BNB, in my opinion. We did end up breaking out. We discussed this last time. I told you if we did end up breaking up above this 227 resistance, I told you if that was taken out decisively on a 4-hour, which, let's zoom in here, we can see it was taken out on the 4-hour right on June the 11th. at June the 11th at midnight GMT time. That was taken out. That was your buy signal, as we discussed last time. And I told you guys, once we did have that decisive break, that Litecoin was going to be skyrocketing up to at least 140 on this. Let me go back to the daily, and hitting our area of resistance between 140 and 145. And I told you we'd have to see how price reacted at that point. We did get a fairly substantial rejection here, guys. We've got a nice doji candle, yesterday's candle, which technically was today for me, but for a lot of you that was yesterday. This even though this is a neutral candle, a doji candle, it can be, and very often is, a sign of a top out, at least temporarily. Now again, if I come out here to the weekly, we're just seeing a little of a pullback, not too significant as of now on the weekly. But on the daily, this does suggest that we may be topping out and we may be coming back down here to test at least 220. And I'm going to want to see how price reacts at that 220. Really, I'm going to be watching the bottom of this candle right here on the 11th, which is at about 225 exactly to the nose almost. I'm going to want to see how price reacts there. If we do end up breaking below 225, I do think it's going to be a fairly substantial drop down to about 115 to 117, this area right here. If 225 does hold, I do think that's a good area for a scalp. And I would be targeting, if we do bounce off that zone, guys, I'd be targeting, once again, taking another shot at this 140 to 145 resistance. But right now, guys, doesn't look like I wouldn't be buying Litecoin as of yet. We'll have to wait and see. Now, if we do take out this top again, which was at about 143, if we do come out here and take out 143, I do think that's going to be your signal to, let me zoom out here on the daily. I do think that that's going to be your signal to, it could be a very quick rise up here to about 153. So maybe a very quick scalp trade, guys, but I do think we're going to find some resistance right around 153, 155, somewhere thereabouts. If we take that out, then it's a very quick rise up to about 175, 180, somewhere thereabouts, guys. But we do have resistance sitting at about 155 that we do have to get that would have to get taken out. So I'm going to be watching that area, 125, looking for a bounce if we do end up getting a retrace, and then closing above 145 for a continuation to the upside. Overall, though, guys, Litecoin, even though we might be temporarily topping out here, Litecoin does look extremely, extremely bullish. All right, and finally ending with the coin everybody loves to hate, looking at Ripple here, guys. Ripple, Ripple seems to be finding resistance right at the top. This is on the daily chart, right at that 21-day EMA for the last 4 days now, guys. Unable to break above it at all, much less decisively. So that does denote a little bit of weakness, guys. And I do think Ripple is very likely just going to follow the market, whichever way it goes. Certainly not leading anything. So if Bitcoin breaks up, I do think Ripple is going to break up. And I know this sounds rudimentary, guys, but we're just not seeing nearly the strength with Ripple as of yet that we are seeing with other coins like Litecoin and Binance Coin. That being said, it doesn't mean it can't come here. If I look at this, guys, clearly it does look, well, that's not where I wanted to draw it. Clearly, this does look like Ripple is creating a bit of a wedge pattern here, guys. Without question, we're getting a series of lower highs, higher lows, and this does look like it's wanting to make a larger move here in the next 3 to 4 days. So I'm going to be watching this apex fairly closely. Actually, I would say less than that. I would say in the next 48 hours. It's 72 hours at the most, but more likely in the next 42 hours. Ripple is going to make a larger move. So what am I going to be watching? First of all, I'm going to be watching for that fake out. So if we do end up breaking down here, I'm going to be watching for a possible bear trap at about 37 cents. Price breaking down here, hitting 37, and then reversing course, trapping people into short positions. Now, that's one possibility. Possibility number two, we do end up breaking up here. If we do end up breaking up, guys, I'm going to be watching about 42.7 very closely. That's the area. I do believe about 42.7, maybe going up as high as 44.8, but really 42.7 is, I believe, where they try to fake everybody out and we'd reverse course and then end up just dumping at about 42.7. Now, could that happen a little bit higher here at about 44? Yeah, there's a lot of resistance sitting right there at about 44, really about 44.8, almost 45. So, in order to get very long, not long term, but in only to get, say, medium-term bullish on Ripple, guys, I would need to take out about 44.8 to the upside, and then I'd be looking into coming into this zone between about 47 and 50 cents. To the downside, if we do get a daily candle closing below 37 cents, it could be a very quick drop down to at least 31.5 to 32 cents, and I would think that would be a very, very quick drop. So be very, very careful about that. Now, again, Could we come down here and just bounce off that zone? Absolutely, but be very careful, guys. If you are going to try to buy it up down here, I'd have a very tight stop loss, knowing that things could get ugly very, very quickly. And again, to the upside, guys, watching this zone between about 42.8 and 44.7. I would not be comfortable calling that a nice decisive breakout until we do clear that, let's call it about 45 cents. We get a daily candle opening and closing above 45. I do think we take another shot at this 47 to 50 cent range. And remember, guys, 50 cents is the lid on Ripple. 50 cents has been this supply zone between 50 cents and 47 cents. That really has been what's been keeping the lid on Ripple. If Ripple can get a daily candle opening and closing above 50 cents, we could see a very, very, very quick rise up to at least 59, 60 cents, very, very quickly, up to about 59, 60 cents on Ripple. So things could Ripple. I'm very, very bullish on Ripple if we do take out 50 cents. All right, checking the moving averages. We can see the 8-day EMA is sitting literally right on top of the 21-day EMA. Again, that is denoting weakness here, guys. That is providing a lot of resistance there. And if this 8-day EMA does cross below the 21-day EMA, again, guys, that would be a sign of weakness. And at that point, as I said, guys, we may be coming much, much lower. That being said, if Ripple can take this out to the upside, if we can decisively break above that 21-day EMA by decisively a daily candle both opening and closing above it, guys, as I said, things could get very bullish on Ripple. There's just a lot of resistance above Ripple, and until we do clear that 50-cent range, guys, I just don't see. I think you can trade better coins if you're looking to hold Ripple for the long-term hold. You know, if you believe in the coin, by all means, go for it. I don't want to get into the politics of it. You know, again, people seem to love Ripple or hate it. If you believe in the project, you want to hold it long term, by all means, go for it. If you're looking for a coin to trade, I just don't think Ripple is it, guys. I think you can do much better with other coins. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin.